right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Isshinryu Today podcast. We are live on your Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock, and we are excited to come to you tonight with this will be part six, code six. The time to strike is when the opportunity presents itself. With that being said, I wanted to say thank you for coming to the show. I'm excited about this code. Got some exciting announcements coming up that we're going to
Got the music
broadcast for the
premiering.
show. Hope you'll be a part. Um, but as we do on the show, I'd like to start off the first part of our show with some shout outs. So the first shout out goes to our founder, Grandmaster Tatsuo Shimabuku. And boy, you talk about striking when the opportunity presents itself. Tonight's show, we're going to date back and go back into a little time. So if you see me looking down, I'm actually reading from an article uh, or from a book, and I really don't want to misread what it says. So if it's not my words, it's being quoted. I'm reading from the words from the book, and the book that I'll be using tonight is called Isshinryu Karate: The Ultimate Fighting Art, and that is by Harold Long, Master Harold Long, and Tim McGee. And this is the Orange Book, and we'll be going through this as our reference guide this evening, using it and discussing some things that's written in the book. So, um, according to the book, I'm thinking the dates are correct. However, I don't know, but I'm not here to talk about a date. I'm here to talk about the material. So, it could be argumentative either way. But either way you want to do it, that's fine. But let's give a shout out to our founder, Grandmaster Tatsuo Shimabuku. The time to strike was an opportunity to present itself. He had an opportunity and he presented himself. And he presented himself through the style called Isshinryu Karate. It took on many forms before it was Isshinryu Karate, but it developed as an Isshinryu Karate system of his dream. And we want to protect and preserve and pass on the lineage of his dream. So our first shout out goes to our founder, Grandmaster Tatsuo Shimabuku. Our second shout out goes out to the first generation students that he passed his lineage and heritage and knowledge onto so that they could spread it to the United States and so that we could be a part of this wonderful style called Isshinryu. They brought it back from the United States, and our second shout out goes to our first generation students. We want to remember that, and we're going to go into the past a little bit this evening. We're going to go into the past, and then we're going to talk about the present, and then we're going to talk about what today is Isshinryu Today, which is furthering Isshinryu Karate for the future, and making sure that we preserve and protect all that heritage so that they can do the same as well. Okay, so then our next shout out goes to our second generation students, the ones that really took the Isshinryu system even into a broader aspect, and started setting rules and regulations and started forming associations and started doing some things that was phenomenal. I mean, just motivating and just exploding Isshinryu throughout the United States. They did a fantastic job, and they're still doing that fantastic job. And that's a big shout out. That goes out to them because, I go to my sensei a lot for probably weekly, just for, you know, intuitive insight, his training, his knowledge, his skill, but more importantly, his experience and his experience with the first generation and the founder himself. I mean, so these guys are just the backbone of Isshinryu Karate, and we take them for granted. Sometimes we do. We do. All of us do. I'm not going to say that we don't. We do. But I want to make sure that they are recognized and it's understood that who they are and where they stand with me, they hold my highest respect that I could possibly give. So that's the shout outs for this evening. I want to give a shout out to Isshinryu Today, the podcast, because it's growing. It's doing a great job, and you guys are making it grow. I want to thank you for your supporting our channel. And share this thing with your students. And hopefully we can make an impact and strike some interest in learning a little bit more to Isshinryu than just a bunch of blocks and kicks, because we're going to do that too. We're going to have live shows to where we do that too. But I really want to make sure that we get a good foundation, being this is our new beginnings. I really want to make sure that we cover the codes of Isshinryu Karate first, and the beginning stages of our system, and we'll just grow as a family as we do this. So I'm going to be quiet for just a minute because I am really wound up tight tonight, ready to rock and roll with this code. This is one of my favorite codes. Time to strike is when the opportunity presents itself. Our announcements is presenting itself right now. So here is Miss Rebecca with our announcements for today's podcast. Miss Rebecca.
Hello, and welcome to the Isshinryu Today podcast for this April 14th, 2024. So, our might not be too many announcements tonight, but the main ones are going to be mentioned tonight as far as the Circle of Masters, which will be held September 14th, 2024, down in Anderson, South Carolina, and that will be hosted by Grandmaster Phil Little. You don't want to miss it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you, I would not lie to you about this. This is something that everybody needs to go to. All belt ranks can go, not just black belts or master levels. It's really important for the underbelts to go to this too because they have a really good environment for learning there, as well as in your dojos, of course. But yeah, Circle of Masters, September 14th. Don't want to miss that. Second announcement is I did put a link in the comments here. It should show up. I did it in the Facebook group. I believe I did it in the Facebook group. At least I hope I did. But I know it shows up on our YouTube channel, and that link is to be able for this podcast right here for the Grandmasters, Masters, Black Belts to be able to get into our studio and be live and help continue this discussion with this code 6 because not everybody is going to have the same ideas and the same thoughts. So why not share different thoughts, different ideas about this code? That's what we're here for. We want to share knowledge. Knowledge is power, right? So let's share it. Um, and still wanting people to be guests. If you want to be a guest live, please send us your information. Send us your name. That way I can get you scheduled because I would love to have as many people scheduled on here as possible for a live podcast show. Um, we can have up to 10 people at one time live. So think about that. That's going to be fun. I cannot wait to see that. 10 different people up here at one time talking, discussing. I can't wait. Let's make this happen. Come on, guys and girls, let's make this happen. Um, there is. Let's see. No, Mr. Forrest. I'm not sure if he said anything about it yet, but we are working on having an Isshinryu Today podcast roundtable. I will let him explain more of that, but that's going to be really interesting. And last but not least, I want to give thanks to a lot of people. I want to give thanks to God, first of all, because if it was not for God, I personally would not be sitting here breathing right now. I want to give thanks to my sensei, my hubby, Master Kyle Forrest, because if it was not for your knowledge and your teaching, I would not be here. In fact, there's a lot of students that would not be here without your knowledge and your teaching. And I think that I can really speak for them as well as myself. I really appreciate you, appreciate what you do, and don't stop. Keep going. But the reason why, and I want to thank the sponsors that I've gotten so far from that fundraiser, which is still going on until midnight tomorrow night. If there anybody who wants to be a sponsor for me, you still have a chance. It's a tax deductible donation. Any donation, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's just, hey, it's the thought that counts. It's the love that you guys share. That's important. It's what it's about. But I have been inducted to the AMAA. Let me find my paper. I had it pulled up here so I can get it said. It's the 2024 AMAA Hall of Honor's 10th anniversary. It's the Legacy Weekend that they're going to have down in Charlotte, North Carolina, this August 9th and 10th. I have been inducted to that, and I'm truly excited and blessed for the knowledge that I've gained in order to be able to do something like this. I'm thinking I'm the first of the Team Kia group that has done this, and I'm hoping that this will inspire our underbelts, you know, that, hey, you guys can do this too. I mean, this I'm really excited about this. That say that appreciate every that is here, everybody that watches this podcast when it's over with. Hey, learning is knowledge, and even if you're not, interacting, you're watching, you're still learning. So I'm excited. I'm sorry. But back to you, Mr. Host, Mr. Kyle Forrest. Oh, by the way, I've got my coffee. Sorry, guys. This is not Wawa coffee, but this is Becca coffee. And it's pretty darn good.
That's a little shout out
Hey,
there
I
to
love you
right,
guys. I love Master Cimarosi.
yeah.
I love you guys. Mr. Dean Scott, Mr. Cimarosi, Mr. Frank Black. I love you guys. You guys are my karate brothers, but I love my Becca coffee.
You don't love Jesus Jimenez any? You didn't mention his name.
Mm,
I love you, Jesus.
I
I
do
love
love
you.
Mr. Jesus. Mr. Jesus is my brother from another mother. So,
He drinks that Puerto Rican coffee. It's okay. It's okay. Thanks for mentioning his name. I'm sure he's
hey, it's
listening.
coffee. Coffee's yummy.
All right. All right. All right,
My
guys.
brother from another mother. I love you too, Mr. Jesus.
All right, guys. Hello, Mr. Clayton Ray Bell. I'm glad to see you on here. We are continuing to pray for your wife still. Um,
Yeah.
so we will continue her in her
Yes.
prayers. And my brother, an update on my brother where he fell and hurt his knee. I told you to keep him in his prayers. He's up walking now. He's doing a good job. I don't know that he's going to have surgery. I think he may have just sprung his knee. He's in a brace. He's walking. He actually worked out with us at the dojo this past week. So it's awesome to have Chris on the floor anytime we can get him. And want to give a shout out,
Yes.
guys. If you needs to pray, I guarantee you we pray around here, and we'll do what we can to help anyone. So anyway, with the shout outs, let's go into our show this evening. I want to talk about, the time to strike as an opportunity presents itself. We went through a pandemic. Um, and by going through a pandemic of COVID, I kind of took different directions on how I wanted to go with the night show. So just try to follow along. I'm gonna try to start at the beginning. But we went through a pandemic in our country, and it had some good things, but it had some terrible things too. And some of the things that we had to do was when it took its strike on us in our country, we had the opportunity to really come together in our households as families. We had to work together as I'm talking personal families, um, because we were restricted on, you know, being exposed to a lot of other people. So it really gave us time to kind of restructure our homes, which I think is very detrimental in these days that the family really gets to really know each other and spend some time with each other. And so that was an opportunity that we got to strike on. Another opportunity I think that we got to strike on was got to broaden our minds on how we were going to adapt and overcome certain situations that happened in our life beyond our control, just beyond our control. And I think that was a very life changing time in everyone's lives. And I think that by doing so, we really gave us an opportunity to really miss the things that were important to us. And what I mean by that was since the COVID pandemic, and I wouldn't say we're completely done with it, but since the COVID pandemic, we grew as a system of karate in an umbrella of I'm Isshinryu, you're Isshinryu, and kind of the politics stuff kind of went out the window because we kind of had to get on Zoom calls. We kind of had to use the internet a lot if we were going to get our message out there. Even I had to go to teaching classes online. before I could get back into on the dojo floor, permitted by my county. So anyway, we had that opportunity to expand and communicate with people that we normally wouldn't have communicated with. And by doing so, we created an Isshinryu family. And I like what I liked was I really started blowing up the podcast during those times because I got to communicate with people that I couldn't go see that I usually go see on a regular basis. My travel was restricted to they would cancel events because of COVID, but they couldn't cancel the message. That's what I'm talking about. Sometimes it's not always a physical attribution, but sometimes it's that message. And if we can continue to do that message, Miss Rebecca, to answer your question or to reply to your thank you, you're very welcome. And it's a true honor to be your instructor as well as many others. And the knowledge that I pass on to you is not my knowledge. So thank you for that compliment. I do appreciate that. However, I'm passing on what was passed to me, and now you have it. Now, what you do with it, that's on you. You can pass it to someone else or you can keep it to yourself. However, you know, if I do appreciate what the compliment that you said, because I really try hard to let the students understand that, what I'm learning, yes, they are things that I learned that maybe somebody else didn't. And I was able to show you that as well. So you kind of maybe got a twofold system, and that's the way it should go because you're going to learn things that not even I showed you that you can pass on to someone else. And that's why I wanted to bring to the table when we get through to the eighth code, at the end of the eighth code in this series, once we get through with the eight code, the opportunity is going to present itself. And I'm using this code in reference for a reason. The opportunity is going to present itself for many teachers all over the world to do exactly what your and our relationship was, and me be your sensei. But I want to expose the Isshinryu world to many different ways of thought and many different experiences from many wonderful instructors in the Isshinryu system. So I wanted to create a roundtable meeting. So on here, we can have up to 10 live guests, like Becca's live now. I'm live now. You would be up here live now. Like Hanshi Mady was on here on our first show. He popped up live and we had a communication. And we can work through these things together. We can see each other work out together, but I want to discuss these codes and I want to do it at a roundtable meeting where everybody gets a chance to discuss every code that we had. So it may be a 2 hour show. That would be fantastic with me. However, give everybody an opportunity to just discuss these codes to our listening audience. And then it's recorded. And once it's recorded, it's there, guys. We can replay this. We can show this to our students. This is one of the greatest training tools that we have, and we're using it on Sunday. So I invite you. Um, I can only have up to 10 live. However, if we get more than that, I can rotate you in as we go. I can take one down, put one up once they answer. So I can have as many as I want. Um, So if you'd like to be part of that roundtable meeting to do the discussion of these codes, please send me an email in my message, a message in my message, or an email in my email, which is FIA, that's FIA underscore sensei, SENSEI at yahoo.com. Or you can send one through the um, podcast email here. You can send a message through here. You can send a message through to Miss Rebecca. There we have many different ways you can get in touch with us, or you can hit me in direct message, um, and we can communicate and get that scheduled. But that will be a couple weeks from now. We're on code 6, so we have 7 and 8 to go, and then at the going into the next week, we'll do the all 8 codes roundtable discussion, and we'll have questions and answers. So we'll have people in here that'll be able to ask questions. All right. So I know enough of me babbling. Shut up, Sensei. Let's get to work. I'm going right now. So that's fine. Um, the time to strike is when opportunity presents itself. Well, I want to refer back to our manual, back to our book. And I want to see what Master Long and others, Tim McGee and some other people, had to say about this code when they were writing this book. And I try to put myself at their time period when they were writing this book and their ideas and just different things and what these things meant to them. So the time to strike is when opportunity presents itself. And this comes from Harold Long and Tim McGee. Always examine your opponent, and that just sounds like Harold Long right there. Always examine your opponent. But anyway, terrible, I know. An attempt to locate his weakness. After finding the weakness, attack that point. Okay, so the time to strike was opportunity presents itself. We all have weaknesses, and we have to look for those weaknesses. Now, on a personal level, if I attack my own weaknesses, they don't become weaknesses anymore. But I've got to look for that opportunity. The timing is everything. And I think the key thing in this, the time, if you take the first two words, the time to strike or the time to act, the time to, if I change that word, and I don't really want to change it because I don't really want to expose another meaning, but let's say the time to strike, the time to act, the time to do some kind of verb. Strike would be a verb, that's an action. So the time to do action. This may be something personal in your life that an opportunity may have presented itself before you thought you was ready for it. You might have an opportunity in a dojo to learn a kata before you think your time's ready for it. Well, if the opportunity is there, strike. Go on in with it. Um, if that's your weakness is kata and that's what you need to work on, and you see somebody else working on it, and they may can answer your question without even verbally communicating to you. They may can just go over there and go through it with them. Ask their permission. Do you mind if I go through this with you? Yeah, let's go. Let's work together. Um, but on a different level, it says always examine your opponent. Now, when you think about opponent, what do you think about? An adversary, somebody against you, or is it someone facing across from you? It's not necessarily means it's a bad person. It didn't say attacker, it just said opponent, and that can be attacker as well. But you're going to look for weaknesses. Do they have they got a bad wrist? Have they got a bad leg? Have they got a bad ankle? Have they got, as far as self defense purposes, these things can come into play because that's where you would want to strike, I would think, to protect yourself if they did attack you. Are they right handed or are they left handed? Could that be a weakness? Do they come up and shake your hand right handed? Do they grab items right handed? Do they eat right handed? They might they might be predominantly right-handed. Maybe your exit could be to the left since they're kind of weak on that side. The time to strike is that's the time that you see that unbalance, if you will, then that's where you go to. So the time to strike is when now I'm not reaching here. I'm really going to tie all this in together here in a little bit. But I am just throwing out ideas to get you thinking. Um, Maybe the time is at your job. If I keep looking down, I'm looking at notes because I want to keep it in my. I do an outline before every show. Um, so maybe it's at your job. Maybe there's been a position that come open, and the time to strike is the opportunity has presented itself for you to be able to move up in your position. Maybe you can fulfill that position better than the person that was already there, or maybe that person is moving up and there's going to be an opening for you. Don't be scared. Don't be scared to take that opportunity because it presented itself. The time is right. So if you think about saying this backwards, if itself presents the opportunity, then it's time to strike. If I said the code backward, it makes sense. If the opportunity has presented itself, then it's time to strike. So the opportunity presented itself at work. It's time to strike. It's time for you to step up. It's time for you to don't be scared, but push yourself, grow yourself, just like in your training. The first time you come in, you may work a stance. Great, wonderful. And you may use that stance to defend yourself. It may move you out of the way of something. You may not ever have to block it off. You could just work your stances, and the opportunity came available and you had to move out of the way of something coming down fast at you, really downhill fast at you, and you had to move out of the way. So you used your stance. You was safe to talk about it the next day. And you would tell everybody if something like that dramatic happened to you. Um, but then once you learn that stance and you protected yourself with it, now it's time to grow. Now it's time to add something to it. What can make it better? What can I do as far as my positioning or my timing? Or I could do this to where I can maybe have to move something a little bit to make my stance more effective. Now you start building that stance and now you start making it better. And now the more opportunities, the more you know, the more opportunities will open up for you. Sometimes, sometimes you have to create the opportunity. Sometimes the opportunity isn't there and it may not ever be there. You may have to, by your movements, by your actions, by your training, by your knowledge, you may have to use all these tools to create the opportunity. And once you create that opportunity, then it's time to strike. You created the opening. So maybe your movements created an opportunity for you to be able to defend yourself. Maybe you couldn't go straight into you. You had to go off to the side. You had to change your position in the fight. You had to remain balanced while you did it. You had to recognize these things. And you created, by doing all the other previous codes, you created an opportunity. The opportunity became open. Well, it may not be open long, so you may want to strike quickly, but you've got to be able to recognize the opportunity when you see it. That's the whole point behind this, the timing. The time to strike is when the opportunity presents itself, not after, not before, but exactly when it presents itself. Are you able to recognize when it presents itself? Well, I'm going to give you some features or go back and a couple page after this and in the book, it talks about some secrets, some samurai secrets. It talks about Okinawans. And I want to go back, and I told you I was going to do this. So if you see me looking down, I'm reading, and then we'll discuss the reading. But I want to go back in time and see what kind of opportunities opened up and how the Okinawans and how Tatsuo Shimabuku recognized these opportunities and struck. And now we're here presenting it. He presented it too, but the opportunity presented itself and he jumped on board many different times. So I want to go over to in this book, and this is a great book, guys. And if you hadn't got one, you can get one. Hunchy Little sells them. You can contact Hunchy Phil Little in Anderson, South Carolina. I think we have a couple people that's done that already and has purchased a few of these books. My friend Kerry Weaver, he just contacted me the other day, and he's getting one for him and his sensei. So he should be getting in touch with Hunchy Little soon. Hopefully, he can get it. If he can't, I'll get it for him. But if you need that information on how to get one, please don't hesitate to contact me, please. I want to talk about, and it's just one page, 2 pages over after this, and it calls for a little history lesson, um, and it's called "The Secrets of Okinawan Defense." Now, how am I going to tie that into the time to strike is when opportunity presents itself? Because this is them understanding how to present it. Okay, samurai secrets for the conduct of your life. Against the samurai, secrets of Okinawa. So it discusses both sides. And I want you to decide when the opportunity comes open. And I want you to decide on how they did this. I know my lighting changed. I had to position it so I could read. So I'm going to read a little bit. It says, and like I said, the dates aren't mine. I'm just reading it from the book. So if they're wrong, I'm sure someone will inform me that they're wrong. And that's fine. I will jot it down and make a note of it. So I'm going to try to position this light where I'm not blinded out, but it's important that you hear me and not see me. So Okinawa was conquered by Japan in 1609 and became part of Japan in 1879. Karate developed in part as a result of the Okinawans being deprived of weapons by the samurai. So they weren't allowed to use their weapons during that time. Um, the Japanese warrior class in 1609. To defend themselves, the Okinawans began to study, and I'm going to butcher this word, I'm sure, Chuan Fa. Chuan Fa, I'll say that, or Chuan Fa, brought from China years before. The system of self-defense was called Toad in the Okinawan dialect, Toad, but labeled Te, which means hand, to mislead the Japanese. There was an opportunity right there. Did you hear that opportunity I just said? They were training in this system, and the system in the Japanese was called, well, actually, the system was called Chuan Fa, brought from China years before. The system of self-defense was called Toad in the Okinawan dialect. So the Okinawans would call it Toad, like Mofu Tode or Toad, but labeled as Te to mislead the Japanese. They labeled it as Te. So Te, there's an opportunity right there. If I took K-Ra and added Te on the end of it, it would be Karate. So Te meant hand, according to this, but it was developed to mislead the Japanese, according to the book. Okay. In Naha, check this out. Toad was composed of hand blocking and blows delivered from angles. So their positioning, exactly what we were talking about, created an opportunity to use the hand development system of Tuan Fa, Toad, which they labeled as Te to mislead the Japanese, into angle fighting. That was in the Naha village, okay? Let's do this. This might be better. Yeah, there we go. The blows delivered from angles. Isshinryu Toad was composed of soft circular movements. So the soft circular movements. And I think we have a code that says it's either hard or soft, but I may be wrong. We may have to go back to another show and look at that. It was composed of soft circular movements. These variations in the art of self-defense was practiced in secrecy. The Okinawas viewed this style of self-defense as a way of combat. The aim was to destroy the well-armed samurai soldier who could plunder at will. There were few diversionary movements in Okinawa karate. So they saw an opportunity from a system, and they saw the weakness, and they used this to train themselves to strike when it presented itself. So just giving you a little bit of history of how this ties in the correlation. When the time to strike is when opportunity presents itself. This is something our forefathers were doing, and we have preserved this and protected this and felt the importance to grow Te or Toad or chuan latte, whatever you want to do. But it was a diversionary. They had very little diversionary movements in Okinawan karate. The techniques are usually to the point and are based on two ideas. Use any technique that will help you survive. Not a bad idea. Use any technique that will help you survive and fight to the finish, for you have nothing to lose. That's outstanding. And I want to bring this up because there's a good friend of mine that really does a lot on your YouTube channel, Matthew Blair. And he said the kanji for the code read individually. Hands meet emptiness, model enter in Japanese. Tuwaku ni a sunawachi hara in English. In combat, one must enter a state of emptiness. That's perfect. If you do that, the opportunities are unlimited and always open because everything's empty. Do you see what's happening here? This is building our system from these little secrets, okay? Secrets of Okinawan defense. That's outstanding. Thank you, Sensei Blair, for sharing that with us. And I hope I didn't butcher the the talking too much or the language too much. I tried my best. However, you're welcome to come on here and say it correctly because I know with my southern accent I butchered that all to pieces. I promise you. But I tried, and it's written so they can read it for themselves. But so thank you so much for sharing that. You have to finish, for you have nothing to lose. The Okinawans became they became efficient street fighters because if he did not kill the oppressive samurai soldier, the soldier would kill him simply for being a member of an inferior group. If the Okinawans did not kill the samurai soldier, he would be executed if caught. So I had to do it when the opportunity presented itself. He had to create the opportunity. Once it presented, he knew when it was going to present itself. Because if he got caught doing it and he did it wrong, he was executed. That was the rules back in this time period. Okay. Um, moving on. Directly and indirectly, the Okinawan absorbed the philosophy of the samurai, a philosophy that influences all martial arts. So they used their strengths, focused on their weaknesses, struck when the opportunity presented itself, all for survival. And that's now you see why I was talking about COVID. COVID kind of did the same thing to us. It restricted us on things that we could and could not do openly. It restricted us on getting together as groups. However, we saw that, we knew that was our weakness, and now it's become our strength. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Okay. So these philosophical concepts were public reading throughout the Japanese speaking world after the Meiji Restoration in 1869. Until that time, the samurai philosophy was a secret, seen by the outsiders only in the actions of the samurai soldiers, actions the Okinawans knew well. They studied their actions. Folks, how many of you have good actions and how many of you have bad actions? So using this code to set a format of the way people read you is crucial. What message are you sending? So I'll just leave that there and let you think about that. The following teachings drawn from the, and I'm going to butcher this word, but I'm going to say it, Hagakure, were written by a samurai priest named Yaho Yamado. They should help for the basis of conduct for an Isshinryu karate student. Study these secrets carefully, for the teachings will help you develop proper attitudes, confidence, help you overcome fear, and help you serve your society well. I'm going to read some of these secrets, and I'm hoping I'm not boring y'all with my reading. And But I really feel like that this code right here opens up a lot of opportunity. It's presented itself, so I'm striking. So, and the reason I'm doing this is because I really want you to really pay close attention to these codes in your training and how they can better your life, better your training, and just all around make you a better person. Just like what I said, um, it will it will develop proper attitudes, confidence, help you overcome fear, and help you serve your society well. Um, Samurai secrets for the conduct of your life. Now, this is in the Harold Long book, and I want to discuss some of these samurai secrets. And you'll be like, well, why would you? Well, because these are the things the Okinawans felt were important. And these are the types of things that we want to protect and preserve and pass on because they are very important when it comes to your life. Okay. The first one, the first secret was that he has listed in his book is one resolution. One resolution. And what Master Long said here was set your sights on one high goal and resolve to reach it. One high goal and resolve to reach it. Each moment you are making a resolution, and the resolutions add up to a lifetime. Try to perfect one resolution in your lifetime. One. That's secret number one is one resolution. Isshin, one. Tatsuo had a resolution. And before I go into any other secrets here, secrets, they're secrets, but they are revealed through your training, okay? So, resolution, one resolution. Tatsu had many influences. He lived in a time period and before a time period before I was even in existence. So he got to see a different time period, many different time periods. He got to experience things that I never got to. But he took that and he had one resolution. Isshin, Isshin, Isshinryu, one. He wanted to create a system for everyone. In this book, it says from Harold Long, secret number one is one resolution. Set your sights on one high goal and resolve to reach it. Now, I can hear him saying that um, just by talking to my sensei because he can speak just like him. I can't. I try, but I can't. Set your sights on one high goal and resolve to reach it. Each moment you are making a resolution, and the resolutions adds up to a lifetime. One resolution, one lifetime. It's up to other people, your students, to create another resolution. Once they have their resolution in their lifetime, it's up to the next person. Think about how we evolved in Isshinryu. One person, many people. They spread it. They taught twice as many people. They spread it throughout America. So it grew one resolution into another, and they spent a lifetime resolving it, as we are too. Okay, so secret number two. Secret number two. What am I looking like on time? Okay, I'm good. Secret number two. Concentrate on the here and now. Now we're up to the present current status. We did all that history, all that talking, all that reading to come up with a resolution, resolve it, and now we got to concentrate on the here and now. The time to strike was an opportunity presents itself. Tonight's show has gave us an opportunity to present these secrets. It's gave us an opportunity to present you. It's gave us an opportunity to present the history. It's gave us an opportunity to strike in our weakest time. The part of our system that's the weakest is the knowledge of our system, in my opinion only. Agree or disagree, that's fine. I'm just saying we can learn the mechanics of the system. We can. But can we learn the tools that built the tools so that we can learn the mechanics of the system? And are we grateful for that? You know, a car rolls down the road every day and we don't think nothing about it. But someone put in the time, the resolution, and a resolvement so that we could have, they seen down the future, but they took the here and now and resolved a problem. And the problem was transportation. Now they're able to travel and communicate. We hadn't come out with the phone and all that yet. The problem was we were able to travel now further places than we've ever been before. So as we evolved in society, our system has to evolve as well. That's why I said the weakness of our of something in our country where it made everyone weak. It impacted everyone in the world. This COVID impacted everyone in the world, but we took the tools that were already there for us, and now we're using those. We saw a resolution, and now we're resolving it. It's coming fourfold now. We're able to communicate. We're able to talk to people. If Andy Salone listens to our show, he's in Okinawa. If he was on here right now, he could pop up. We could be in two different countries talking to each other. We had Albert Mady from Canada. Okay, we had people on
Mm-hmm.
here. I mean, you know what I'm saying? We're able to use these tools and get the message out there, but we've got to do it right. We got to preserve this history. We got to preserve this knowledge. The opportunity presents itself. It's time to strike. So if itself presents the opportunity, then it's time to strike. If I reverse that, I put the ending in the beginning and read it backwards, it would say the same thing. It just gotta. It's time to strike now. Okay. So, secret number two, concentrate on the here and now. The day of crisis, imagine that. The day of crisis should be the same as today if you are prepared. You got to use your training to prepare you for the day of crisis. You got to do your preparation. You got to do your homework. You got to do your training. You got to get in the dojo. You got to make the moves that you're learning work for you so that if you do have to create an opportunity, the opportunity don't create itself. It your opportunities come from your actions of striking. And the timing has to be perfect. So the time to strike is when the opportunity presents itself. So when it presents itself, you've got to be prepared. And it says the day of crisis should be the same as today if you have prepared. That's secret number two. One resolution, concentrate on the here and now. Secret number three, take the long view, and not how long view, but you can take that one too. But take the long view of your resolution. Now, I'm going to read this. Many people fail because they become impatient. Guilty, guilty as charged,
Yes.
guilty. Many people fail because they become impatient. Tell yourself that you will prepare the I gotta learn to speak first. Tell yourself that you will prepare for at least 15 years and that your day will come. 15 years? Well, yeah, it says tell yourself that you will prepare for at least 15 years and that your day will come. Until age 50, you are preparing, and all the hardships should be cause for joy, for you are being given a chance to develop skill and confidence and courage. You are given a chance to develop skill and confidence and courage. Now, those aren't my words, those are Harold Long's words, but I couldn't agree more. I'm going to read that all together and not break it down, but many people fail because they become impatient. Tell yourself that you will prepare for at least 15 years and that your day will come. Until age 50, you are preparing, and all the hardship should be cause for joy, for you are being given a chance to develop skill and confidence and courage. Huh. And I think the whole definition behind that is I've seen it in my school, I've seen it in a lot of other schools. People get in a hurry. I want to get to the end of this kata. I want to get to I want to go to the beginning of this kata to the end of this
Yes.
kata. You know, and they
Take your
rush through
time.
things. Yeah, they rush through things and they're missing the message. It isn't the fact that you can get from the beginning to the ending. Eventually, you're going to be able to do that anyway. However, take the time to learn what the move's teaching you. Take the time to see how many times you can use each specific move. Take the time to perfect that move. Because if you don't, you're going to be missing these three attributes at the end of the sentence: skill, confidence, and courage. A lot of people get in a hurry. They want to get a black belt. They want to be a master belt. They want to be this. Take your time. You have a whole lifetime to resolve one resolution. First, you got to find out what that resolution is before you can resolve it. Second off, you have to concentrate on the here and now, what you have available to help you resolve it. Then you've got to put it into action. You have to put it into action to where you got to take your time. You got to understand your training. I've seen a lot of people, and I don't remember their names, but I've seen a lot of practitioners, and I'm sure you have too, if we're honest with each other, that they can do all their katas, they could do all their weapons, but they couldn't tell you what they're doing in them, or how to use them, or how to incorporate that into maybe that's their strength and they're not focusing on their weakness. What we're talking about is focusing on a weakness and making it your strength. That could take up to a lifetime because you were born with that weakness. Okay, that is your weakness. And like I said at the very first show that we did, and I don't know if you remember, but I think you can go back and play it and listen.
Mhm.
But we are our biggest opponents. Remember, I said your opponent wasn't a bad thing. I ain't gonna call myself a bad thing. So I'm my biggest opponent. I'm my biggest adversary. I put myself in situations more than anybody else has ever attacked me. Yes, I've been attacked. I've had to defend myself. That was the easy part, in my opinion. It was. It was the easy part. The hard part was, why did I get in that position in the first place? Did I put myself in that position? Myself is my biggest opponent. Take your time and be patient. What if you what if you went through your life like you did your kata? I just want to get to the ending. Hmm. Take your time. Make your katas work for you. We didn't cover all the secrets tonight. We still have 7 minutes left. I want to leave a little time, but I do. I'll just stop with that one secret, and we'll talk about some more secrets later. But I'm reading this from the book, The Ultimate Fighting Art by Harold Long and Tim McGee, and they're very wise words. And I'm glad that they wrote them down because if they had not written them down, we wouldn't be able to talk about them tonight on the show because nobody would remember these. Nobody would even think about these. And so I hope you enjoyed tonight's program. The time to strike was an opportunity presents itself. Guys, look for that opportunity. But when you get that opportunity and that opportunity presents itself, please handle it carefully. Make sure that it's the right opportunity for you and not someone else's opportunity. Physically, look for a weakness to defend yourself. Look for a weakness in someone's presentation towards you, whether it be animosity, whether it be verbal, whether it be mental. Look for those weaknesses, and that's where you need to attack. Sometimes attacking those positions will fix them. Sometimes revealing those positions on your opponent will resolve them. Now, that's a good statement right there, because resolution and resolvement is one thing that Harold Long was talking about in that secret. So we got a few minutes left, Miss Rebecca. I'm going to open it up for questions and comments. If
Yeah.
you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate. Just make sure you put your name up here. Thank you, Master Blair, for putting that on there.
Yeah.
And I'll read that. I'll read that again. The kanji for this code read individually. Wise words tonight.
Wrong one.
Wise words tonight. Thank you. I appreciate your efforts. Be well. You're very welcome. And if I butcher those words, I'm sorry. But I do have them in print so everyone can see them. But remember, hands meet emptiness, model, and enter. Remember those words that Matthew Blair shared with us tonight on Isshinryu Today. Thank you for listening, folks. I hope you enjoyed
I got
tonight's
something.
program. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. We got time.
Yes, I do. I have something. So tonight has been so knowledgeable and enlightening, and it's been interesting. And you know what? There is no rule in this whole world or universe that says that we have to stop with that with this podcast. So with the next podcast, if you want to continue with the secrets or whatnot, we can continue this Code 6 next podcast.
I'd like to do that if that's
No
okay.
rule that says that we can't do it, so let's do it.
All right. That sounds good. Pain is temporary. Victory is forever. Thank you so much for sharing that. And there's no truer statement to that. Pain is temporary. Victory is forever. And with that, we'll close out and we'll schedule part 6, code 6, part 2, I guess, for next Sunday at 3:00. Please tune
Yeah.
in, join us. Thank you for your
Let's do
support.
it.
Love you guys. God bless you, and good night.